Hello, everyone. Today is Thursday, March 5th, 2026, and this is Dad and His Lifetime Stories, Part 29. If you would, share this video with family and friends, and if you have a chance, like and subscribe to the video. We got a question from Scott Nichols. That's Aunt Mary Lou's son. And he wanted to know about a 1965 or a 1966 model Mustang you had. Do you recall that car? And there's
Oh yeah, I recall
something
it.
about his question kind of seemed like he must have had an experience or rode in it or something.
Well, it was a top-notch sports car in that particular year, and and I had it when I worked down at Federal Congress in South Memphis, and sometimes I'd drive it to work, sometimes I'd drive another car to work, but one day there was a man in the office, and he saw me coming. and, and he said, "There comes Bobby Scott with that load of women." And I think I had one or two, or at least two in there. And one of them lived next door to me there in West Memphis.
Yeah.
But there was a lot said about my car.
What color? Do you remember the colors?
Oh yeah, it was a white or off-white with maroon-looking
Interior?
interior
Was
and exterior on some things.
right.
So it was over my head. I tell you
So when
what.
you put your foot into it, what would it do?
Oh, it would go. It would go because it had a V8 engine in it. Is what it had.
Smaller sports car with a V8,
Yeah,
a big V8, I
yeah.
guess,
I
for
started.
Ford.
I started to try it out because I knew a strip of road down towards Hughes, Arkansas, that the ditches just kind of had a swell, is what they had in a certain strip down there. And of course, I was on my way also to a destination to see uh, Margaret Ann's brother, Hoss. He run one of the warehouses down there. And I was going down there also to see him, I think, to see if what he could help me get done instead of just staying in the same position I was in there. Because South Memphis was a big place.
Yeah.
I mean, a big place. And they was, uh, I don't know how many people they had working for them, but I imagine 20 or 25 men that were running different crews, you know.
Right.
But he lived in Hughes at the time, and he run the warehouse down there.
How fast did that car get up to whenever you were going?
You know, Mark,
120 or something?
I never did, I never did try it out. Never got a
Even
chance
when you got
to.
on that straightaway, you didn't get it going, huh?
No, I just
Backed it off?
they'd be somebody riding with me or something like that, and I didn't want.
Punch it down?
Yeah, cause I bought a '57 Ford, right, a new '57 Ford, and that was the fastest car I think I ever rode in, and and I was on a uh, strip of highway that I knew that led into Mark Tree. They hadn't built a bypass around there yet, but Mark, you had to go through Mark Tree to get on to Jonesboro. But there was a strip of highway, and as you left Highway 55, I think it was, that you kept going north on, and you could get off on this particular strip and go to Mark Trent, Jonesboro and all. But up, and they call it, what did they call it? Tulot or something, another. They was the name of a town back over there towards the lakes, because you'd be going back to where we lived up here at, at Mark Tree, where we were born and raised up there. But it got up to it rested 130. It had another peg down there. It rested 120, but it had another peg down there for another 10 miles an hour if you want to go that fast. But I didn't ever want to go that, because you could feel that tail end begin to move around.
Right.
It just wasn't too smart to get too fast in some of those cars, because man, they were fast. Yeah.
Well, Scott for some reason remembered it, but thanks, Scott, for asking the question. And if anyone has any questions, just put it in the comments like Scott's done. Cynthia Nichols did the same thing. She asked a real good question quite a few parts back about Jack Nichols, and Dad did remember he was a good baseball player. We talked, or you were telling me the last time, pretty much in depth how to bale cotton, which you did, things in the process of it, and we got basically to the point of loading it in the boxcar. There'd be 80 to 100 bales. Do you know where the cotton left from there, where they distributed it to?
Well, if it went into a boxcar, it probably just shipped overseas is where it was going to. And I remember looking at some of the destinations, but
Was it on the bale itself or something?
no, it wasn't on the bale itself, because that many bales, that whole thing would be going to Bangladesh or wherever.
Oh, okay.
Wherever it was going to overseas.
After, you got to a point baling cotton. You were doing building maintenance along with that, or was that later on after the baling the cotton?
That was later on.
What kind of jobs in your main job was when you were doing maintenance of the buildings?
Well, and when it wasn't cotton season and real busy, but we were repairing floors, replacing the roof up on top, or putting a new roof on, not replacing it, because they didn't know how many layers of roofing material they had on it already, how many times it had already been overlaid. But they used to roll out them rolls about that wide, almost a 3-foot roll, I think. But that was my job in the summertime. I'd have a crew of men up there working, and they'd have toe sacks on their shoes to keep their feet just burning up, and that's the only way they could stand it, because they were up there working in it all the time. And of course, I'd be sitting around somewhere, but I'd be running a crew and making sure things were out of the way where we were going, because these were mostly all sawtooth buildings.
Now, when you're talking about laying down that 3-foot wide roof and it rolled out, now you were they mopped out like hot tar on them things.
Right.
And it was boiling hot.
Oh yeah, it was hot.
Dangerously hot.
Yeah, sometimes men would get it on them or something, and man, it just eat them up, is what it would do. I mean, it would eat that first layer off his skin. He didn't look. They would try to keep it off their body, but they'd get it on their hands or wherever they might do. But we did our best to see that they didn't do it or handle it in the wrong way to make sure they, if they were pulling the bucket up with a rope or something like that, whoever was underneath there better get out from underneath it. If he just pulled it upside the building or something or other. But
So
it was dangerous.
the tar was down in a
In a vat.
oh,
It had a hot vat down there that it stayed hot all the time.
and they physically were just bucketing it up, 5-gallon buckets or something.
Yeah, at times that's where it was. But most of the times you'd have a particular hose that would lead up there to that, and you could turn it on and spout down there. But most time it went up in a bucket is the way it got up there.
Besides the roof itself, inside the buildings, what was the main thing?
Well, inside the building, we wasn't doing anything to the inside of the building. It was all roofing on the outside. And most of the time that building would not just be stacked with cotton. Sometimes you may run into a building was stacked 4 or 5 high, and it would be full of cotton. But sometimes the building may be empty, partially empty, but we went on about our business because it didn't affect down there unless we broke through some way or another. Somebody
You
fell.
mean actually fell through the roof?
Yeah.
Maybe legs or
Yeah.
come up to their chest or something?
Well, they didn't. Most time it'd just be to the leg going in, and it'd be all. But sometimes the body would go, get lodged down in there if you didn't watch. You never know what takes place when you're falling through. But I've seen it happen before. Some of those old roofs are they're not like your metal buildings that you have today. And they were beginning to build them there at South Memphis whenever I was located down there.
So it was all, framework was all wood, the roof was all wood except for the tar and it was laying over it.
Yeah. But we had some buildings that was metal buildings, and they were built to go high, like 6 or 7 bales high. If you laid a bale down and went up that way, they were 6 or 7 bales. If you just started stacking it, the way that you stack it, you get it that high.
The main thing I remember was the sprinkler systems in the buildings.
Yeah.
Can you give a basic design of you got like a valve house where the actual big valves at?
Yeah. Well, in a metal buildings, they were still dry systems, but that building could be heated if they wanted to and could afford to. And I don't know as they ever had. I don't think they ever had any of their buildings while I was down there heated. But if they wanted to, they could have heated that building up, and they could have had a wet system, water in there already, kind of like that sprinkler head right there. It's alive.
Right.
It's what you call a pendant head, and that I can see up there. That head, you see some glass, I think.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, and you kind of see color, don't you?
Yeah, it's usually red or something like that. It's the fluid that is pumped in that system is there at that head.
So if a fire breaks out, Is it the heat or the actual fire that's going to set that sprinkler head off? Where the fire starts at?
Well, it usually almost takes up.
Open flame.
Yeah, yeah.
And does just that one sprinkler head go off, or will it start popping them everywhere?
Well, it start popping them everywhere is what will happen. It'd be that one head will go off first, but if that one goes off, your fire may go on over to another one that's closer, or you may have for you can get it put out, or you get the fire put out down there, and have you call the fire department, and
Because
if
they're
it
coming
burned
anyway.
long enough, you may have 3 or 4 or 5 heads that go off. Just depends on how far it gets. But if it gets to the top up there, mostly it just goes across because it's just your aisles that we leave after you stack those bales. They're just wide enough to get a tow motor down through there.
About the width of a forklift, sort of.
Well, right, but there's a different machine that comes in there usually. It's got a boom out here and and a cord that winds back up on the machine, and it'll let out the thongs that will pick that thing up. And I imagine most time you've got a one man operating this machine that goes around and gets bales like that. Catch this end and then catch the top. It'll open up to where it's about 5 foot wide or something like that, whatever the width the bale is. And he's just a one man gang. That's it.
Um, the valve house itself with the sprinkler system, there's water up to the point where the clapper is
Right.
holding it between
Right.
the air and then when it's called for, that clapper goes up and the water comes up
That's
full
right.
power.
Right.
Now there's like a clanging bell out there. Is that part of the
Oh
water
yeah.
sending
Well,
that thing, making it ring?
once that valve, the clapper opens and the water gushes out up there, it'll it'll open or it'll fill up to that bell from that valve that tripped is what will happen. The water will begin to gush out, and once it gets, it'll set off an alarm as it goes out. Is what will happen. If there's a flow up there, it'll trip it or something, or if it's dry system, once it gets to water, it'll trip it.
Um, I recall on some of those valves there was a date stamped on it.
Yeah.
What do you recall as the oldest date? Because I'm
Oh, I don't know, 1917 or something
yeah,
like that.
I remember some in the teens and in the early 20s or
Yeah.
something. I guess they can last that long,
Well, as long as you keep them up,
huh? Yeah, keep the
they're there.
maintenance on them,
Yeah.
huh?
Well, they're always improving them is what they're doing, and sometimes and anytime you build, you're gonna try to build the latest model,
Right.
because there's some of them that just wore completely out. I mean, the gaskets you replace, as long as you can replace that, you can do pretty good. But and some of those gaskets, they may not be but quarter of an inch thick or something like that as you put your cover back on and begin to seal it up. You got about sometimes you got 6, 8 big old bolts and nuts, and sometimes you got seem like it's 15 or 20 on the
Yeah,
face of that thing. But it's fascinating how it really works.
and it works.
Yeah, it works. Yeah.
Um, I'll kind of close out with this. You would get calls in the middle of the night
Oh yeah.
from the fire department or the police department, and they were waiting on you to come shut that
Right.
system down and shut that
Well, they'd be making their rounds by the building, and they have a certain place they turn around and go back to their normal drive. But
Right.
if they heard a bell ringing, they would call, and I was the one usually if I was a manager down there, in which I wasn't at times as other men that was there before I finally got a plant. But it was uh, it was hard to go down there sometimes in
Middle of the night.
that particular area because I was in around Shorter College. I think it's Shorter College is about a block on further over towards Little Rock, towards the river. But I just
So
so
once you went, were they still sitting there waiting on you to come
yeah,
shut that thing off? The
yeah,
police or the fire department or
yeah,
whoever?
yeah. They'd want to know, you know, because they may have done call the fire department and said we've got a guy coming. We
No.
may be calling you or something like that.
And it'd take you 30 minutes to get there, 25 or whatever,
Oh
wouldn't
yeah, it was a good 30 minutes.
it? Okay.
But I really enjoyed them trips.
3 o'clock
Oh
in the morning or
yeah,
2 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, it was a
Just stay at work.
pain in the neck.
Sleep on the couch in the office, huh?
Oh yeah, wherever you could.
Well, we can stop there because there's quite a few other questions I can ask you regarding the maintenance. And I saw either a film or pictures of you going to Arizona. Was that
Yeah,
for work or was it the guy,
I was.
maybe he was going to give you a job there or something?
Yeah, well, I was having trouble physically breathing all that jute bagging and stuff, and it didn't take too long to really get to me, I guess. But he sent me out there to see if I wanted to work out there,
Because
if
the
I could work
environment?
to change areas and
Right.
in different environment like you're talking about. But it was just dust everywhere as you're working in like in where they're pressing the bells down all the time. But it was just a dusty place to work, and I had gone to the doctor, and he knew that I needed to change to get out of. He wrote a letter that I need to get out of that, change areas or something or other.
Back then, they didn't have respirators and masks, and they didn't think
Uh,
about stuff like that at all.
well, I think they had. If you wanted to wear a mask, you could, but most time people just worked in it
Yeah, didn't
because
think about it and went
it's
on.
kind of like these people in the coal mines now.
Right.
They got to work, and
Yeah.
you see them come out and
Black.
on their place. They're all black here all over, but their mouth
Yeah.
or their nose is still in that area.
Right.
It's clear and clean because it's breathing that air in and out.
And
It's
they're
going,
working and they know they're killing their lungs, but they got to have the
yeah.
money.
That's
All right. Until next week.
adios.
Alrighty. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.